Welcome back to another episode of Oyoyindoke's Kitchen, and on today's recipe I'll be making delicious smoky jollof rice. This recipe is inspired by Life with Rozy, and I'm going to be leaving her name in the description box. Don't forget to check it out. I do thank you for watching. For our recipe today, I'll be using goat meat, which is the chief ingredients. And to season, I'll be seasoning with some chopped onions and some chopped bell pepper. And I'll be adding some seasoning as well, some bouillon seasoning, and as well some curry seasoning, yes. I'll also be adding some crushed garlic and ginger. Feel free to omit garlic and ginger if you don't like that. And the next seasoning will be no salt seasoning to enhance the flavor further. And as well be adding some Italian herbs to lift the flavor to the next level. So guys, I'm going to stir this nicely and we are going to be marinating it for 30 minutes. So I'll be adding in addition some thyme, yeah. So we need all the flavor locked in for about 30 minutes before we start to cook the goat meat. So we are going to set it aside for 30 minutes. Now the next thing will be our vegetables. I have bell pepper here, some tomatoes and onions, and I'll be washing these to get them into the oven. Remember, we are making smoky jollof rice. Now our vegetables are thoroughly clean and place them into the pan. I'll be seasoning with some salt and garlic, and as well drizzle some oil on top so that we can bake nicely for about 20 minutes. We are looking for smokiness here. Now we are back to the goat meat and it's thoroughly marinated for 30 minutes. I'll be getting it into the pressure pot. You guys know I love to cook with my pressure pot. So I'll be getting the goat meat into the pressure pot and I'll be cooking that with about a cup of water, because the pressure pot on its own produces more, it locks in the water as well. Now we're adding some water into the pressure pot, about a cup. And I'll be cooking this for about 30 minutes. I really want it very soft and tender. So I'll be cooking for 30 minutes. Our goat meat is ready. Yes, after 30 minutes, I'll be separating the meat from the stock. So you can see it's nicely cooked and I tell you it smells amazing. So now I want to air fry the goat meat and my rack is ready for air fry. I'll be placing the goat meat back in the air fryer right now to fry for a few minutes, and I don't want it to be overly dry because the goat meat is thoroughly cooked. And I'll be drizzling some vegetable oil. I'll be air frying the goat meat for about 10 minutes because it's thoroughly cooked. And now I'm going to make sure we strain the goat meat stock so we can get the fine stock for our goat meat jollof rice. Our goat meat is completely done, so I'm going to be getting it out from the air fryer. It looks so amazing, and I tell you it smells so good, very healthy and less oil. So I'll be cooking with basmati rice for the goat meat jollof rice, and I'll be soaking this for about 5 minutes with hot water before we continue. So I'm adding my hot water right now to soak it for about 5 minutes. So we are going to cover and set aside while we continue. So my pepper is completely ready and out of the oven. Oh yes, this is because we want to make it very smoky, and the baking the pepper and the vegetable will bring out the smokiness we are looking for in this jollof rice. So I'm going to be blending with some fresh garlic as well as fresh ginger. And I will not be adding water to blend the tomatoes, onions, and pepper. So guys, I'll be frying the tomatoes with some vegetable oil. You can use any oil of your choice. And I will be sauteing my onions. You know I love to saute my onions. So I'll be adding the onions to saute for a few minutes before we add our tomato paste. So I'll be adding tomato paste now into the pan. And we are going to cook that for some time before we add our blended pepper, onions, and some tomatoes. After about 5 minutes of frying down the tomato paste, I'll be adding the roasted blend, which is the bell pepper, tomatoes, garlic, onions, and ginger. I'll be getting it into the pan right now to cook further. And for my seasoning, I'll be using some curry powder, bouillon seasoning, freshly crushed black pepper, and some salt. You mix nicely to combine, cover to cook. Now you can see our tomato base is ready. You can see the oil floating on top, which means it's ready for our jollof rice. So for this jollof rice, I'll be cooking with basmati rice. Yes, remember we soaked it in hot water for about 5 minutes. It's completely washed and clean. I'm going to get it right into the pot. Do remember to use any rice of your choice, but I prefer to use basmati. So now I'm getting the tomato base that we made. Remember our tomatoes, smoky, fresh tomatoes. We're gonna get it into the pot now, and I'm going to continue to stir this rice for about 5 minutes. So we're going to toss it together so that all the seasoning from the tomatoes and all the flavor will be locked into the rice before we add our goat's meat stock. So having done that, I'm going to get our goat's meat stock right into the pot. Yeah. So we'll add the goat meat stock into the pot, and this is going to bring out the goat meat flavor, enhance the flavor of our goat meat jollof rice. I'll be adding some fresh bay leaves, followed by some fresh thyme, and as well as some freshly grounded nutmeg. This will take the flavor to another level. Alright, so we are going to get back the stew base. Some of the stew base we left behind right back into the pot. Alright, so we are now adding the stew right back into the pot. And if you're going to stir at this time, make sure you stir gently to avoid the rice from getting burnt. So I'll be adding a little more water, and make sure you don't add a lot of water because basmati rice doesn't really need a lot of water to cook. It cooks with the steam. Just make sure the water is at the level of the rice. Now I'm going to cover with parchment paper to steam for about 20 minutes. So 20 minutes down the line, and our jollof rice is almost ready. So we are going to take off the parchment paper. Guys, you can see the flavor coming out from this rice. It's so powerful. The aroma of the goat's meat and all the herbs and the smokiness from the pepper and onions and garlic is amazing. Guys, try this recipe. You're not going to regret it. Now I'm going to be adding butter to the jollof rice. Yes, the butter is going to help the jollof rice not to be overly dry, and it's going to keep it moist. The flavor from this pot is out of this world. The goat's meat aroma and all the herbs and the smokiness from the vegetables. So right now I'm going to get back the goat meat into the pot. Yes, we're going to add it back to the pot, and as well I'll be adding some vegetables as well. So I'll be adding some fresh onions, some diced bell pepper with some fresh tomatoes right back into the pot, and we are going to give it a stir to combine. So we're gonna stir nicely to combine. The aroma from this food is amazing. Guys, if you ever lived in Lagos and if you remember Ghana High Commission, the jollof rice they cook there is just a replica of what this recipe is all about. Thank you, Rosie, for sharing this with us. I really enjoyed myself making this recipe, and I tell you, it is absolutely delicious. And tell me what you think about the recipe, and I do thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys, and stay blessed.